Does your child have a speech delay? Have they worked with a speech pathologist for years and even had additional tutoring at school with no significant improvement? Are you waiting for them to outgrow it? How long are you willing to wait, and when do you think that will happen? I'm Dr. John Bartemus, and I'm putting the pieces together to help you live a life at optimal. Today I consulted and examined a child with his dad present, of course, who has had a speech delay since he was 3 years old. He is now 8 and going into second grade. For years, he has worked with a speech pathologist. He has had extra tutoring, and he has over 1,000 pages of medical records that I've reviewed. He's had all the testing done to assess his hearing for auditory processing, et cetera, and he does have neurologic deficits that are at play in the case, but he has never been assessed metabolically. He's never had blood work done once in his life. And so working up his case, there are multiple indicators that there may be metabolic drivers to his neurologic dysfunction or contributing to or exacerbating the speech delay. Don't forget, the brain is an organ that requires fuel and activation. Activation comes in the form of stimulation via learning, movement, play, athletics, but fuel comes in the form of oxygenation and glucose and other nutrients that the blood delivers. So if there's any issue with oxygenation, with circulation, with iron levels, if there's any anemia, if there's any blood sugar dysregulation, these things can prevent him from having a brain that will effectively respond optimally to the rehab through speech pathology or to any neurologic rehab we would do. So what this child has needed for years and hasn't received is someone to look at him beyond just the speech delay and say, what are other contributing factors that are possibly at play in this case? I believe we're probably going to find when labs come back that there are gut inflammatory drivers related to foods, related to chronic infections, and probably a blood sugar dysregulatory issue. There may also be brain autoimmunity at play. If these things are present and not addressed, which they've never been looked for or addressed, then of course he's not going to create the significant changes through speech pathology and tutoring that we'd like to see. Upon examination, there was also presence of primitive reflexes. Primitive reflexes should have been remediated and gone years ago. So if they're still present, that's an indicator that the neurologic system is suboptimal and that neuro rehab will be necessary. But we don't know how to time it until we understand the health of the metabolic system. If the metabolic system is dysregulated, then adding neuro rehab initially likely won't get us where we want to go because it's hard to rehab a brain that isn't receiving the fuel necessary to create the new synapses and respond to rehab like we want it to. So if your child is suffering from speech delay and you've been to years of speech pathology, you've been to years of tutoring, and you're not getting the results that you would like to see, maybe it's time for you to have that child investigated metabolically and from a functional neurologic angle to look at all the pieces of the puzzle, put together the puzzle for that specific child so that we can make sure that the system is ready to respond to the training and the rehab that it's receiving. At Functional Medicine Charlotte, that's what we do. We put the pieces together for everyone that we work with, specifically for that person. So if you're looking to be thoroughly evaluated and not just plugged into a protocol, reach out to us.